When you've been lying about something for so long, it becomes second nature. You think you're gonna get the truth in a town like this? When you've been lying about something for so long, it becomes second nature.
Do you see the beauty of it? The inevitability. You rise, only to fall. You, Avengers, you are my meteor, my swift and terrible sword, and the earth will crack with the weight of your failure. Purge me from your computers, turn my own flesh against me. It means nothing. When the dust settles, the only thing living in this world will be metal.
You remember me?
How you doing tonight?
Doing well, officer.
Can I see your driver's license, registration, and insurance, please?
Of course. My license is right here, my wallet. It's all right, son. You remember the night in July?
Hands up!
Hey! Wait! Put the phone down! Put that phone! Sir, it's a phone! It's a cell phone! It's just a cell phone! You knew he was unarmed.
Push the car and put your hands in the air! Officer, please, he's just a kid!
You pointed your gun at him. Okay, get out of the car, son. Easy. You pulled the trigger.
Put the phone away! Put the phone away!
The grand jury determined that no probable cause exists to file any charges against Officer Randall.
This is my son. This is my little boy. You took that from me. The world took that from me. Today we make that right. Hear me when I say this, because I'm only going to say it once. Don't stop filming.
You should just give up now.
Why are we the only people in this country that are expected to do things without violence?
I didn't mean to kill your son!
What you did.
I did what I was trying to do!
I just want justice. That's all I want. This is your jury. The deciders of your fate. Today, you will be tried for the murder of my son. You scared? Are you afraid?
So begins the end.
Now, all you black folks, I suggest you get away from all these white folks. Not you, Steve. You're right where you belong.
There's a particular portion in the Bible. We're not gonna leave a link or tell you where the particular portion is, but you've probably heard. It says that in hearing, these people will not hear, in seeing, they will not see, so that their minds may not be touched, so that they'll be convicted of their crimes, and they will die in their crimes and spend eternity in the lake of fire. That is what the Creator said to the wicked remnant and the kings of the remnant, the Sadducees and Pharisees, who are the learned elders of Zion today, who run the world with the Vatican. So, Roman Christianity in itself, the reason why evil succeeds is because evil people protect themselves. So if you ever read in the book of Genesis, in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the evil people in Sodom and Gomorrah all acted together. So when you see the population of the world, and it seems like something is making or joining or binding them all together, that joining and binding is actually Satan. A lot of people will watch movies and not understand that every movie that you watch is talking about Satan. The very names of the characters in the movies, because people do not understand this. Every movie that you watch in this world is directed by Satan. A lot of people are going to be wondering why they're taking a look at the poster of this movie called The Book of Eli, which stars Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman. In the movie, The Book of Eli, starring Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman, Denzel Washington was carrying a Bible, all right? He was carrying a Bible to a very specific place. And according to his character, it was said that the Bible gave him power such that he could not be killed. Now, there's a very specific reason why this particular movie was called The Book of Eli. Because when people watch movies, they don't understand that Satan is the one directing and writing these movies. Why was the name Eli given to this particular movie, The Book of Eli? You have to understand this. The high priest was the only one who could understand what was in the book. So if you remember at the ending of the movie in The Book of Eli, there was nothing in the book. All what Denzel Washington did was read out and somebody else wrote down the script. Go watch the movie and see that. So these movies are trying to show you that only a high priest understands what is in the book. And the particular movie here also showed you that Denzel Washington's character was a high priest. Why? Because the name Eli in the language of the remnant means high priest. It was translated into Eli, high priest. So when you go through the Bible and you find any name that says Eli, like for example, they say Elijah. The Eli there means high priest. And Jah, as they've made us to believe that that's the name of the creator, means the high priest of the creator. Or you hear the name Elisha, same name. So anytime you find the word Eli in the book, it is talking about a high priest. And this is what this movie was trying to show you in the book of Eli, because Satan is the one directing all the movies, directing all the characters that you find in this world. So that is how powerful the words of the Creator are, such that Satan sought to change it. Because without the Romans creating Christianity, all the evil that we see in this world would not happen. Why? Because Christianity says that you should forgive those who break commandments, those who practice abominations, that you should forgive them. Now, if you go and read the Old Testament, it said anybody who was a homosexual was to be killed. If you're a witch, you were to be killed. If you're practicing inbreeding, you should be killed. If you were a pedophile, you were to be killed. If you were a rapist, you were to be killed. If you were imposing yourself as a high priest, you should be killed. In which all pastors and people who say that they are filled of the holy demon, the holy mind, speak and say they are speaking for the Creator, telling you lies. So why did the Bible specifically say that anybody who practiced any of these abominations should be killed? Well, because you have to understand that evil does not repent. So for example, if you have one homosexual in your neighborhood, as is in the Bible, and you do not kill that homosexual, he's going to breed 10 more, 20 more homosexuals. So way back in history before Christianity, we only had maybe like 2 homosexuals living, if they were not found and killed. So 2 homosexuals, if they are not killed, if they were not killed back then, they have 1 million of their children living now who are all the homosexuals that you see in the world. The same with witches and wizards. If you don't kill a witch, the witch is going to breed 50 more or 20 more of them, and they're going to make things worse. And in today's society, almost all American women, in Western society and around the world are witches because they are all into astrology. They are all into divination. If they want to go on a date or they want to date a man, they start asking you, what is your sign? Why do you need to know the sign of a man? Because they are witches. That's why they ask them. They themselves don't know they are witches because people do not understand that evil breeds evil. So if your father and mother was a witch, the children born are witches, but they do not know that because they are not taught that evil breeds evil. They do not know they are evil. Why don't they know that? Because Christianity, the preaching of the false God spell, to put a spell on the minds of people, have made people not to realize what evil is and who evil people are. And on the Legends of Roll Call, we are going to reveal all that. Therefore, Christianity in itself is a wicked Hindu religion brought out from India, practiced by albinos. And we're going to get into that fully as we get on because people do not understand the words that I'm saying until I say it. And I know that I'm very, very proficient in speaking which language, but which language is just a subset of the whole entire spectrum of languages. It is the most smallest inconsiderate language in the spectrum of language which the Creator made, which Satan corrupted. Because Satan corrupted language to bring about which language. So that means which language is part of the spectrum of languages. The Creator did not make it. Satan just corrupted it. But we are very proficient in speaking that language because language is corrupted right now. So the English that we are speaking is still part of which language? And we'll explain things clearly so the spell comes forth from your eyes for those who are interested in the truth. Because as we've said, this video is not for everybody, but people will listen to it. If you're listening to this video and you don't have the book and our DVDs, you will not understand anything. And you are a child of Satan. Now, someone's going to say, you mean to tell me if I don't get your book and your DVDs, I am a child of Satan? Yes, definitely. Because you are not interested in the truth. A lot of people will say, I'm broke, I don't have any money. But you have money to buy clothes, you're feeding yourself, and you don't have money to get the truth. That is what it means. The truth is not important for you because people, there is no excuse for it. I myself have been broke my whole entire life. But do you know what I have spent my money on? Was to get the truth. I have so many books that you will not be able to fathom. I have read so many books because the only thing I was interested was in the truth. But until I met a high priest in all my research, everything that I read and all the books accounted for nothing. Because in only the mind of a high priest can you have understanding of what you're looking at and what you hear. That is just the order of the way things were set up. So in this day and era, most American women, most women around the world are witches. They are into astrology, horoscopes, new age spirituality. They believe in stone, they're into crystals, and that these crystals can heal, but they have no idea of what crystals and stones are really about. And I wish I could tell them because they are totally ignorant. But we are not here to make any witches get any more witchier. All right. So witches were supposed to be killed. So that means if you're in astrology, you're in horoscopes, you're a witch, and your sentence is death. And you're not only going to die, you're going to the lake of fire. Now, I'm going to say something about Black American society. Now, in this particular video, we're going to make a clear distinction because I want you to understand this and I want you to hear it very clearly. Black Americans are not African Americans. It's two different words entirely. the people who try to switch things to make you believe that it's one and the same are the government, because they know the distinctive difference. An African American is an immigrant from Africa. So that means, for example, you have a lot of maybe Sudanese, a lot of West Africans, like maybe Nigerians, who come to the United States. They were not born in the United States. Those are African Americans. Black Americans are native to North America, but they do not own North America. Here's one thing that you have to understand now. Black Americans immigrated from somewhere else. It was not, they have not always been native to North America. I want you to remember that, because we'll explain that fully when we get into the shape of a world. This is not the video for it. So back to what we were saying. The history of Black Americans is rooted in witchcraft, in being witches and wizards, because they built a very great civilization which was directed by being a witch and a wizard. So a lot of Black Americans carry the lineage of witches and wizards. That is why so many Black American women are into astrology, or one way, shape, or form, dwindling into horoscopes, into crystals, and many other things. Because, as we've said, if one witch does not die, the witch breeds 20, 30 more, 100 million more witches. So that is the reason why it seems like almost every Black American right now, the very first question that they ask if they're female is, what is your sign? Because that is a lineage of being witches. Witches talk like that. So there's a very clear distinction between Black Americans and African Americans, and I want you to understand that concept today. We won't have time to explain it on this video, because this video are for people who are dying and going to the lake of fire. So it has to serve a lot of confusion. It's going to serve some truth, but the truth is only to show you where you're going to end up. There's a clear distinction between Black American and African American, because there are so many lies that the wicked society of white supremacists has sowed into the mindsets of people, so they do not understand who they are. And today is when we make the distinction of who is who, where your origin is from, and where you come from. It starts with this video. You're going to find out that all the DNA tests and all the ancestry websites that you're into is only created to tell you a lie because of the origin of whom albinos are, where they come from. Because everything they've told you about albinos is all a lie.
Solomon Northup is an expert player on the violin.
I was born a free man, lived with my family in New York.
Be good for your mother.
Until the day I was deceived.
I was a free man. I'm not a slave.
Solomon Northup is an expert player on the violin.
I was born a free man, lived with my family in New York.
Be good for your mother.
Until the day I was deceived.
I was a free man. I'm not a slave.
Like we've said before earlier, and today we're going to make it very clear and you'll see it for yourself. Albinos are native only to Asia. They do not come from anywhere else but Asia. So as long as they have straight hair, you are not Hispanic. You are not Latina. You are from Asia. You are not European. If you're an albino, you did not come from Europe. There are some albinos that you'll find, especially those which have the Oriental look, okay? They look Oriental. They tell you that they are Eskimos, or they tell you that they're native to South America or North America, and they give them the reservations, some of them, to own the properties like the, what they call casinos here in North America. Anybody who's Oriental looking, if you look Oriental and you're an albino with your hair not woolly, you are from Asia. This is the truth, and we're going to show you on this particular video. We are warming up into it as we get along on Legends of Roll Call. So, we're still trying to make you understand that there are so many lies because everything that you have been taught and been told is a lie. From start to bottom, this is the reason why we have the Legends of Roll Call, because this is the destruction of all lies and all legends which have been used to control the human mind. This is the start of it. Like we said, on the Shape of a World, we are going to destroy, totally annihilate. It's going to be like the Creator came when you watch and listen to the Shape of a World, but it's not going to be for everybody because it's going to start a real world war. This is what you've been hearing about all this while, acted in movies, and the world leaders have been talking about, because they dreaded this day, and the day has arrived in which all lies are thrown out of the window, and there's nothing more there for you to see than it is a lie. So the reason why you're looking at the screen right now is because we're showing you water. These people have lied about every single thing. White supremacy, albinos, anybody with straight hair, the scum of the earth which people follow and listen to and think they are gods. They have lied to you about every single thing in this world, down to the water you drink and the air you breathe. But let's start with the water first. According to the pseudosciences which is taught in schools and taught through the medical system, which is nothing but wickedness, which is trying to kill you and trying to shape a mindset of dependency on white supremacy. They have told you that the water you drink is made of hydrogen and oxygen, that it takes 2 molecules of hydrogen, right, and 1 molecule of oxygen. And they've never showed you this, how it's done. Because the chemistry that they tell you is not real chemistry. It's pseudoscience. There is actually no 2 molecules of hydrogen to 1 molecule of oxygen. Someone just sat in a lab after going through electrolysis of water by salt, using salt, and decided, we'll just write it down that it's the 2 molecules of hydrogen plus 1 molecule of oxygen is equal to water. The symbol is H2O. That is what these idiots, these people with no common sense, no logic in albinos taught you guys. And everybody has believed that for the number of years that the brainwashing system of education was introduced into humanity. And nobody has ever sat down to ask a very simple logical question. The same pseudosciences tell you this: hydrogen does not conduct electricity. Did you know that? Oxygen does not conduct electricity. For anything to conduct electricity, it has to have carbon. And water conducts electricity. So what does that mean? Water is made of carbon and oxygen, not hydrogen and oxygen, as the pseudosciences of the educational system teach you. Your body conducts electricity. Why does it conduct electricity? Because it's made of carbon. For anything to conduct electricity, it has to be made of carbon. Hydrogen, go look up your false periodic tables and study hydrogen, the elements, and oxygen, which they tell you what is made of. It does not conduct electricity. Now, why would they lie to you about water that you drink? Because water in itself contains carbon. And if they tell you that water contains carbon, carbon is blackness, you would understand who the creator is. So in order for you not to know, but to believe in this wicked system of Satan, which the kings of this world have set up, they lie to you about the water that you drink. And they say water contains hydrogen and oxygen, when it does not. It contains carbon and a little bit of oxygen, as you're going to find out as we get on. Let's continue on. So I want to show you how these people lie about every single thing, all right? Because they do not want you to know the truth. This is what white supremacy, albinism, because albinism makes you senile. You're filled with demons. You cannot tell the truth because you came out of a natural order. Now, reading here on this screen, it says, carbon itself does not conduct electricity. I want you to listen to how stupid these people are. It says carbon itself does not conduct electricity, but its allotrap graphite does. Now, wait a minute. Graphite is made from carbon, okay? So you mean to tell us that the basic constituent of which something is made of does not conduct electricity, but what it produces does? Can you see how stupid these people are? Because they are trying to hide the truth from you to understand, because carbon is black, so they have to lie about everything. How stupid is this? All right. So here is a website just to read to make you understand that graphite is made from carbon. So the stupid statement that they say carbon does not conduct electricity, as you read, but its allotrope graphite does, it's more like somebody telling you that sand, all right, in itself does not conduct electricity. I'm just using an allegory right now, okay? That sand does not conduct electricity, right? But a brick which is made of sand, all right, or let's say anything that could be made of sand, like maybe glass or whatsoever, now conducts electricity. That is stupid. If the basis element, all right, does not have the property to do something, anything that it forms by aggregation will not do something different. It will maintain the same properties as its base elements. But here we want to read so you know that graphite is formed from carbon. It says here, graphite is a form of carbon. Can you see that? Carbon atoms try to form 4 bonds with each other in graphite and in diamond. Now, people talking about diamond, I have to tell you something here. Diamonds are not real. Diamonds are not real. Okay? Did you hear that? Diamonds are not real. It's a construct. Anything that they tell you is a diamond is just actually a rock, a stone that they got somewhere. All right? There's not a particular, let's say, diamond mine. It's all nonsense. It doesn't exist. They just made you to believe some stones are actually very expensive. That's all what it is. So there's not this like requisite and saying there's a diamond of this luster or whatever. It's just a stone, a rock that you're wearing on your finger. And because someone told you that they put so much money into it, that makes it special. That's bullshit. Let's continue on. So we're here again on another website to show you how these people try to lie about everything because they know they're going to get caught up in their lies. Because first of all, they told you that when these people started lying, let me just make it clear. When they started lying, they were just making the lies as they go along. But they started noticing that a lot of things don't add up. So how are you going to change what you already wrote in your history books as the truth? The all-encompassing truth now. So they have to keep switching things up so that people do not understand what they are reading. So for example, they told you earlier in history that water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. But if you read in your periodic table and you study the elements of hydrogen and oxygen, they are not conductive. They do not conduct electricity. So because they know that, they now have to switch it because they know that water in itself is not made of hydrogen and oxygen, but it's made of carbon and oxygen, right? They have to make water look like it does not conduct electricity, except maybe it has some sort of salt in it. So this is what this article on Wikipedia is trying to make you believe, because they know they are going to get caught. Because their periodic table, which is false, which we have told you, that is only 3 elements that exist in the periodic table. Everything else is made of those 3 elements. And those 2 elements, all right, are made from 1. It says here, conductivity or specific conductance of electrolyte solution is a measure of its ability to conduct electricity. The SI unit of conductivity is Siemens per meter. It goes on now to start the lie, the setup for the lie. This is the setup now, so read with me. It says, in many cases, conductivity is linked directly to the dissolved solids. Why did he have to say that statement? Because they want to make you believe that the reason why water conducts electricity is because it has some dissolved salts, instead of the fact that water on its own conducts electricity. Go pour water on a floor, put an electrical cable that's wired with some electricity, and see what happens. All right, let's continue. It says, high quality deionized water has a conductivity of about 0.5. That is still trying to lie to you. It's telling you that if it's highly deionized, what does that mean? It means that you take the ions out of the water. How do you take ions out of the water for it to conduct electricity? Somebody tell me. It's not possible. You only boil water. It changes phase from liquid to a gaseous state. When it condenses, it comes back to liquid or solid, as you call it. So how do you deionize it now? Because these are the writings of Satanists, of white supremacists, of albinos, anybody with straight hair, and everybody who supports them who are black. Continue reading. It says, typical drinking water is in the range of 200 to 800 USCM. That means the conductivity, which is talking about in Siemens, right? He's measured in S&M, right? While seawater is about 50 milli SCM or 50,000 USCM. Conductivity is traditionally determined by connecting the electrolyte in a Wheatstone bridge. So what is it saying? That water in itself does not conduct electricity. I just have to laugh at this, man. Oh, goodness me. So saying water in itself does not conduct electricity, but if it has some sort of deionization, which they don't tell us how to deionize the water, or it has some sort of salt electrolyte, then it's going to conduct electricity. Because they have been caught in their lie, because they told us hydrogen and oxygen do not conduct electricity. That's what they told you. Go read that up. We don't have time to read that right here, but go look it up. That's what they told you. So if water conducts electricity, it means the elements which is made of, all right, which does not conduct electricity, that something is off. Anybody with common sense will figure that out. So they do not want you to know that, all right? So they write all this flamboyant language, and it looks very, very, you know how a lot of people speak good and great English? If you listen to a lot of albinos, right? They speak so smoothly, so quickly. The words are intact. They create this charisma, and you actually think you're listening to somebody speak. Oh, he has some wisdom. You're listening to a fool speak. Because the ability to be verbose and speak does not mean you know anything. It's just like politicians speak or somebody trying to explain the economics to you. They say a whole lot of everything, but they don't say anything. That is witch language. The ability to say a whole lot and talk about everything without you understanding what they're saying. You can't pick out or make out what they said. That is witch language. Let's continue on. So just to prove what we tell you, see, you can see how wicked these people are speaking witch language. And somebody thinks they understand what they said, but they do not understand it. Oxygen, which is an element of water as they tell us, does not conduct electricity. Oxygen in any form does not conduct electricity. But read what the internet is going to tell you right here. So you see how these people, this senile albinos, anybody with straight hair lie about everything. It says here, oxygen in its gaseous. That means oxygen in the gas state. All right? Oxygen in the liquid state. That means oxygen in a liquid state or solid state does not conduct electricity. Full stop. Period. It tells you oxygen as an element does not conduct electricity. Now look at how they're going to switch the lie now, because they know that this is what they told you. All right? And that sooner or later people are going to find out if water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. The base elements in oxygen and hydrogen in itself do not conduct electricity. Why will water conduct electricity? Because it's common sense. The base elements, two base elements, do not conduct electricity. Put together, they still wouldn't do it. Two wrongs don't make a right. It's not possible. You can't go left and left, all right, and make a right. That is the truth. If you make two lefts, you're not going to go in the other opposite direction. You make a left, you go left, and you make another left. You're still going left. You can't all of a sudden come right by making two left turns. So this is common sense. But look at what they say in the next statement to confuse people. Because they want you to believe that water is really made of hydrogen and oxygen, which conducts electricity. Okay? Here it says, this is because of the covalent bond between oxygen atoms. However, when ionized, plasma form, it will conduct electricity. What the hell is plasma form? You just told us oxygen itself is made of gaseous, liquid, or solid state, then plasma. Why didn't you include this in this statement right here, plasma form, the states? Because this is all a lie. Because they lie about everything. I want you to understand how deep the lie goes to cover up blackness, which we see every day. When you turn off the lights, the whole environment, your whole environment is black. When the sun doesn't shine and there are no stars, it is black because we came out of blackness, and Satan does not want you to see the creator. So he uses his children in albinos, anybody with straight hair, and all the black people who follow them to lie to you about everything. So you do not see that whiteness is the evil. It is a crime against humanity, and the creator did not make anything white. And to continue with the lie, let's show you about hydrogen too. Hydrogen does not conduct electricity. We know that. But see how they write it in such subtle language, because they're trying to make you believe that water is made of hydrogen and oxygen, which they lied to you about, because they don't want you to know that water is made of carbon and oxygen, because carbon is blackness, and everything in this world came out from blackness. Everything. That's why when you burn things, they turn what? Black. That is what it is. But they don't want you to know that. The only whiteness that you'll ever find in nature or around you when you look is when you look at the clouds. Because Satan bleached the water of the clouds and they became white. But if you burn any other thing in this world which came out from blackness, it turns black. When you switch off your lights, everything around you is black. So it says here, normally hydrogen does not conduct heat or electricity very well, because that's a lie. The reason why they add this very well is to confuse you. So you still believe that water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. Instead of that, it's made of carbon. It's made of blackness. Let's continue on. So next up on our Legends of Roll Call Transvestigation is the lady, well, we just call her lady for now, but it's definitely not a lady, is Willow Smith, the supposed daughter of Jade and Will Smith, one of your favorite couples that you hear about a lot. And before we get into this particular gender check to show you that Willow Smith is not a female in any way, shape, or form, we have to arrive at one more advanced gender procedure used to make a gender check. Just remember this. All gender checks or advanced procedures of checking gender is only for black, woolly-haired people. If the person does not have woolly hair, the person definitely will not be advisable for you to use the advanced procedures of gender checks. And we suggest for all intents and purposes that you do not use the advanced procedures, because you're going to fail. You're likely going to fail. Because why? You have a spell that's over your mindset, okay? And secondly, as we've explained, intelligence, the understanding of things is not for everybody. Because most people always write us and say, how do you know this information? Can you tell us? Even if we were to tell you, you still wouldn't get it right, because it's not the way things were designed. I am getting all this information that I'm telling you from High Priest. I am just speaking what they tell me to. That's all what it is. I don't have the knowledge or intelligence myself. I'm just speaking as they tell me. All right? So what we are looking at now to the advanced gender check is talking about the collarbone differences between a black man and a black woman. So let's pull up a picture of Willow Smith to do that before we continue on. So here is a picture of Willow Smith with his mother. Very wicked. This is how wicked the people that you watch on TV are. And like I said, there's something more sinister going on with these people that it is mind-boggling. Even us trying to explain it is still just like unfathomable for us. But we'll get into that fully when you get the shape of a world. It will blow your mind on how wicked everybody that is so-called a celebrity, whether they be in sports, entertainment, politicians, whatever they are, as long as they are people of influence, it's terrible what these people do. We're going to show you all of that on Shape of a World. But talking about males right now, the differences in their collarbones. So this is the collarbone of Willow Smith. I want you to pay particular attention to it. You will see that this collarbone has a knob right here that's very visible at the end. Okay? Very visible. All right? Now, the reason why the male collarbone is shaped this way is because the male collarbone doesn't have any supporting tendons and tissue for the breast. So the collarbone of males are very exposed, and then at the end right here, you will find this knob sticking out for the male collarbones. For females, you won't find this. Because why? One, the female collarbone for a normal, regular black woman, woolly-haired woman, which the Creator made, the collarbones are far much more smaller. They are not prominent because a woman has a smaller rib cage than a man. Why? Because the construct of the woman is different from that of the man. So males have larger rib cages, females have smaller rib cages. When we get to the waist and the pelvis, females have wider pelvises, heavier pelvises, right? Longer pelvises, and males have shorter. So the men carry their weight from the top. Females carry it from below. So that's why a woman always will catwalk, trying to balance that biological weight of the hips. So speaking of the collarbone, in the same thing, with the collarbone of all males. As the man gets thinner, he has less body fat on him, the collarbones gets exposed more. With females, no matter how a female tries to thin out, all right, because she has breast muscles and breast tissue which are supported from the collarbone, this collarbone is not going to be exposed like this from the bottom. So with males, you're going to see the collarbone fully from the top down to the bottom. With females, you're only going to see this part right here, because right underneath here, all the muscles, tissue, tendons for the breast hang from a female. So you don't see the collarbones from the bottom. You only see the top and the rounded knob for the males. And you only see this part right here, right deep inside here, only for females. And this is what Willow Smith possesses, a very distinctive collarbone, which we can see the knob and see it from the top and see from the bottom in 3D, because everything about the man, you're going to see it in 3D from all angles, that this is a man. So the collarbone gets so much exposed right here to show you this is male. And this is Jaden Smith. Now, I want you to imagine for a second that Jaden Smith took her own son, okay, and took him to a doctor. After the child was born, she gave birth to this child. She carried this child for 9 months. And then after giving birth to them, she took it to a doctor with Will Smith, and they said, castrate this boy. And the doctor did so. And the doctor also works for the wicked medical system and the government of this world, right? And they castrate this boy, and they feed him hormones and train him to walk and talk like a female. So most times you'll hear that Willow Smith was suffering from maybe some sort of like sickness that made him, or because it's actually him, not to be in the public light, all right? And he goes missing. What do you think when the child goes missing, when a celebrity goes missing, what do you think they're actually up to? Well, for Willow Smith's case, they're going through the gender reassignment surgeries that they need to make him look more female. And now the question a lot of people always ask is, do these transgenders know that they are transgenders? And the answer is yes. But why don't they say anything? You're going to find on the Shape of a World. So let's continue on. So coming back to the first picture of Willow Smith, which happens to stand here with the very, very feminine two albino women who are actually females, because this is how deception works. See, they put a male, they put two females who are real females over here. So when you look at this and you see, oh, this is very feminine, you can see the way this one, I think her name is Kylie Jenner, or one of the Jenners, whatever, the Kardashian clan. You guys can figure out the name later. The way she stands here, you can know that this is a woman, because you can see the hip cocking. You can see the way she puts the hands on her waist and the hips extending outwards, that this is female. So you look at this and say, oh, it's female. You look at this, female. Oh, so this must be female too. So that's how deception works, presenting you a picture. And only the people in the picture can tell you who they are or what the picture is about. Because you just standing from the outside and looking, all you're making is an assumption. So until you know the individuals in the picture, you will not know what the picture is about. This is the meaning of deception. So going to Willow Smith, you can see that Willow Smith is unable to put his hands on the female waist because it does not exist. The female waist should be up here. That arm position right there is the male waist, because Willow Smith is 100% male, not a female, on Legends of Roll Call. Here is Willow Smith again. You can see the straight back, straight all the way down, no arch. And the indent point is where the male waist is, because Willow Smith is 100% male. And look at this. Have you seen any of the protruding female hip, or the indication that the Q angle starts below the crotch as it should be for a female? No, because the Q angle of Willow Smith is right here above the crotch. This is where the Q angle for Willow Smith starts, because Willow Smith is 100% male. And here's another picture of Willow Smith, straight back, no arch in the back, all the way down to the pelvis. And this man over here is a homosexual. This is how they lie to you, because you see this man over here, you think, oh, they're heterosexual, because they've lied to you about this. Gave this boy implants, gave him steroids, gave him hormones to grow breast, and to lie to you that this is female. But the straight back, the skeleton tells you that this is a man, because you can't change skeleton. It's impossible to change your skeleton. There's no surgery in the world that can change your skeleton. And if you can't change your skeleton, that means you cannot cross genders, and it is impossible to. Let's continue on. Straight back again, we want to show you that straight back all the way into the pelvis, no arch in that back. Because Willow Smith is 100% male, born male, transgendered to a female, but is still male because you can't change the skeleton. So this is the thing about genetics, and is the one thing that they don't teach you. You can never be anything outside of your genetics. You will always be what your parents and your great-grandparents were before you. This is the truth they don't tell you. The most important aspect, because people don't understand how the Creator made this world. Everything produces after its kind. An apple tree still remains an apple, and the generations after it will still remain an apple. Did you get that? So whatever you are in this world, your parents and your grandparents were before you. This is the truth. Anything you are. So the people who make all discoveries about everything that we use today, who are all black and remain anonymous, and white people use them because they are led of Satan, all right, to get all these inventions and bring it out to us to see. The generations of those black inventors, their parents have always been inventors right from the time of Genesis. When you read the book of Genesis and they say so and so discovered this or so and so created that, that is the lineage that is still present today in this world, still discovering. It hasn't changed. In the same way, the remnant, the people of the Creator, their great forefathers. So for example, let's say for example right now that you're looking for somebody like Moses, okay? Or you're looking for somebody like Elisha, all right? Or Elijah, or any of the high priests who lived before them. Their descendants are still living today. The only reason why they do not know who they are is because of sorcery and witchcraft, which the kings of the remnant, the Sadducees and Pharisees, have covered their minds and blinded their minds, because this was prophesied by the Creator that the remnant will be given into Satan's arms and he will do as he likes for 1,000 years. It was spoken in the book of Daniel, but the 1,000 year had ended. It ended in 2019. So everything that you're seeing that's happening now is because the remnant is getting awake. It means the end of the world is upon us. So that's the reason why COVID-19 started in 2020. The 1,000-year period is over. Now, a lot of people are going to say, can you show us that? Well, like we said, this video is not for those who are interested. This video is not for those who are ignorant, who think that they know it all. This video is only to tell the people who are interested in the truth to understand the difference, to know who the wicked people are among them. Because they're going to find out that some, even in their families, are wicked. And that means you have to differentiate yourself. Because remember what the Bible said when the Creator comes back. What is going to happen? There's going to be two in a field, and one will be taken away, and one will be left. So that means two people are going to be sleeping in the bed, a husband and a wife, and children. And one person is going to be taken. I know someone is going to think rapture, right? Let's continue on with this. What you're looking at right now is showing you the genetics of Willow Smith, that this is the genetics of a man. You can see right there, the body fat doesn't make sense because men have very lean body fat, because a man is created just only for himself. A woman is created for 2 or 3 or more people. So she naturally stocks up more energy and fat because that is what she is made for 2, 3, 4, 5 to give birth. So she stocks up extra energy and fat in her body, which is energy and water, all right, for that. So that's why if you notice, men dehydrate real quick. If a man goes to sleep in the night, he's gonna pee more times than a woman does, because women do not dehydrate that quick, because they store up excess energy for babies. So looking at the body fat here of Willow Smith and the genetics, the skeletal structure shows you that Willow Smith is 100% male. You can find out right here that the hip, right? The hip is above the crotch, because a man's hip is supposed to be above the crotch. And here's another picture of Willow Smith, straight back on denying, because this is a man. Just as straight as the back of this man here who's taking a picture of him. Straight back down to the pelvis, because Willow Smith is 100% male and not a female in any way. And here's Willow Smith again. I want you to see how a man walks. Now, I want you all to see also what we showed you earlier in the advanced procedures of identifying the gender, that the shoulders of a black male, there's always a distinct muscle separation between the shoulders and the arms. This is all what black males possess. And this is what you see in Willow Smith. Distinctive shoulder muscle, angular, right? Distinct from the triceps on the back, because this is a man's arm. And the hips are still above the crotch, because Willow Smith is 100% male. So everybody around here, this is the deception. They put up real people who are also going to the lake of fire, because this is one thing you have to understand. Somebody who is an accessory to a murder or a crime is as guilty as the person who commits it. So if you condone homosexuality and say, oh, it's okay, I don't mind if my son is, I am not one, you are as guilty as the person who is a homosexual. You are going to the lake of fire. This is the truth, which you will never hear in Christian churches. Christian churches tell you what? Love. That's all what they preach. But that is not in the Bible. It is not scriptural. You do not love poison. You do not love your enemies. This is natural order. So that bullshit that they preach in the Bible, say pray for your enemies, do good to those who hate you, is from the pits of hell, is from Satan, because he wants you to condone wickedness. If something is evil, you distract and you take yourself away from it. You do not love evil, you do not condone it. Otherwise, you are guilty of it. And this is why Christianity was invented, to make sure that every evil person is rooted out. So that as we are at the end of time now, when the destruction comes, it will clearly be identified who's evil and who's not. Let's continue on. And here's Willow Smith again with Jada Smith. As you can see, this is a man. See? The straight back of a man all the way into the pelvis. This is no female. And does Jada Pinkett Smith know that? Yes, she does. This is how wicked the people who worship the Trinity are, which we're going to expose totally on what the Trinity actually means, because a lot of people don't know it. They've just heard it. The Trinity is Father, Mother, and Son. But there's something more particular in that construction, which we are not going to talk about on Legends of Roll Call. We'll do all that revelation on the Trinity in the shape of a world. Now, here is a picture of a deception. If you look at this picture, this looks like Willow Smith, right? Now, remember what we told you about the collarbone earlier before, right? The collarbone of a female, you will not be able to see it from underneath. You only see it from the top because of the breast muscles that hang and the tissue muscles hanging from underneath the collarbone to support the breast. All right. So this is a clear example. Let me blow this up as much as I can so you guys can see it clearly, the differences. And let's pull up a picture of Willow Smith again just to show you that difference. So here is a picture of Willow Smith, and this is not Willow Smith. Now, the question we need to ask is, why does this person look so similar to Willow Smith? Do they create body doubles just to lie to you about who they are and what they are? Well, you're going to find out sooner or later about this whole body double issue in the shape of a world. But for now, we just want to show you the differences between the male collarbone and the female collarbone. So as you can see right here with this female, you can really see the distinct collarbone underneath, all right? Below here, right here, as you can see on Willow Smith over here, right? You can see a very distinctive frame of a collarbone underneath, and you can see the rounded knobs right here on where this collarbone ends. With a female right here, you can't see, because what's happening is, right, that underneath all this, all right, the breast tissue is hanging to support the breast. So because of this, no matter how a woman thins out, she can never, ever have the kind of collarbone that Willow Smith has over here, because of all the connective tissues for the breast that's underneath the collarbone. And you'll never be able to see the ends and the knobs of this collarbone as that of Willow Smith that's protruding over here. And so with that, let's continue on. So altogether, we've mentioned to you about 6 abominations. If anybody commits any of those, and if the person say they no longer do that, you are still going to the lake of fire. If you say you've stopped, because this is why it's so important. The Creator warned us. And this is what Christianity has failed to make people understand. Abominations which incorporate sex are the deadliest abominations you can make. Why is it deadly? Let me make you understand something. If you steal something from someone, you can return the thing back, all right? And pay even interest upon it and tell the person, I am sorry for what I did. But when you have sex, I want you to think about this. When there's intercourse, sexual abomination between a homosexual, how are you going to retrieve the fact that you put your sexual organ in something that you were not supposed to do? How do you reverse that you had sex with your daughter, or that you committed an abomination of sleeping with an animal sexually, or that you raped someone, how do you retrieve that back? Now, let me put it in very graphic terms. When a penile organ goes into a vagina, all right, contact has been created. There is no way to retrieve that back once you violated that conduct. Does that make sense now? Does it make sense why these great abominations cannot be forgiven? Because there's no way to take it back. There is no way to take back the action. There's no way to negate what you did. But if you steal from someone, all right, you can take what you stole back. You can negate the action. If you bear false witness against someone, just like so many pastors today who are posing as a high priest and saying that they hear from the Creator and they have the holy demon, you can take that back. You can go back to your congregation. You can go back to the people that you told this lie and said, I was wrong. You can make restitution for it. But how are you going to make restitution if you as a father sleeps with your daughter? Or you as a mother sleeps with your son? You as a sibling sleep with your sister? Or you sleep with your uncle, your nieces, your nephews? How are you going to take that back? How are you going to take back the fact that you had homosexual relationships with someone of the same sex, whether male or female? A man committing abomination with a man, a woman committing abomination with a woman. How are you going to take that back? How can you negate that action? How can you negate the fact that you raped someone? And before I continue, let me show you the actual meaning of rape so people can get this clear, because a lot of people do not even understand, because feminism has made them to believe that they were raped when they were not. Because if you go and meet someone in a private place, that is not rape. You know the person. Rape means that you never knew the person and the person abducted you and raped you. If you go to meet someone in their houses, in a hotel, or any private place, or your co-worker invites you to his or her house, that is not rape. If you don't want any sexual intimacy with someone, you meet them in a public place, or you meet them with people. You do not go alone. When you go alone, it means you trust the person. So whatever happens between you guys. That's not rape. And let's show you that from the scriptures. So we're reading from Deuteronomy chapter number 22, and we're reading from verse number 25. Now I'm going to impute the right words because Roman Christianity messed up a lot of the wordings of the Bible, okay? Let's read it now. It says, but if a man find in the field a woman, what does that mean? You're in some place that there is nobody around. So it's setting a very specific statement. There's an abduction happening here. It says, if a man find in the field a woman that is betrothed, okay? Now, betrothed here means that the woman is either married, okay, or she's single. She is alone in the field, alone somewhere. So the scenario here is talking about an abduction. And he should force her and sleep with her. That means rape. You shall kill the man that lay with her only. Did you see that context? So the context here is that the woman is alone. She's abducted. She's forced. Okay? All right, let's continue. And it says, and the woman has not broken a commandment worthy of death. And the damsel has not broken a commandment worthy of that, as if a man should rise up against his neighbor and slay him, so is this thing. So it's telling you here that you should kill the rapist, but not the woman. For what this man did in raping this woman is as if he has committed murder. That's exactly the statement that he's saying. But now let's look at verse 27. all right, for you to understand the true concept of all this rape. Let's continue. And it says, because he found her in the field. What does that mean? He abducted her when there was no one around. He found her in the field. The betrothed woman, the single or married woman, cried and there was none to help her. Does that make sense now? So this is an abduction. She crying. This man found her in the field, found her alone. This man does not know her. He just saw her, followed her, abducted her, and raped her. That is rape. That is the true understanding of rape. But if a man calls you on the phone or you guys go and hang out to dinner and he tells you to come over to his house and you go and he forces you to have sex, that is not rape. You know the man. You do not put yourself in a sexual situation as a woman to be with someone privately. If your co-worker at work tells you, come over, let's hang out. That is why I keep telling women, men and women were not created to be friends. This is the greatest deception which Satan has made women through feminism to believe. Men and women were not made to be friends. They can be friends. A man can only be a friend with a woman if there is a business relationship in between the two, or there is another relationship in between the two. Besides that, if you guys are just hanging out with none of that, no business relationship in between, no personal relationship in between, men and women cannot be friends. You have to understand that. So if a man calls you or your co-worker calls you and said, oh, come on, let's hang out, let's go to the club, and you as a female go, all right, and you end up in his house and he forces you to have sex with him, that is not rape. Because you subjected yourself to that personal space, that private space for that to happen. You don't do that as a woman. So the whole idea of rape has been construed by Christianity and Satan to cast a carte blanche and use feminism to destroy manhood. That is how it works. If you don't want to have sex with the man, don't go to his house. When he calls you, do not answer. That is how it works. So let's continue on talking about what we were saying before. So there is no way for you to negate a sexual act. Once you've done it and it's an abomination, you're headed for the lake of fire. But if you do any other crime of restitution that can be restituted, you can make restitution for it by paying the restitution for it and stopping to do the action. So those 6 abominations, you will not be forgiven of it, because I have seen it. There are no true repentant homosexuals. I have met a lady before. She was a homosexual. She said she stopped it. But do you know what this lady continued to do? She continued to create cruises for homosexuals, condoning homosexuality. So remember, we explained an accessory to a crime is the same as the person who does the crime. If you help and abate any of these great sexual sins, inbreeding, sleeping with members of family or next of kin, and you do homosexuality, and you do bestiality. Bestiality does not necessarily mean that you physically abuse an animal as you would sleep with a man or a woman. It means showing any form of affection or due affection to an animal. If you do that, you're going to the lake of fire. If you do rape you're going to the lake of fire. These are the great deviances. The other abomination of imposing yourself as a high priest, if you do not pay restitution for it, you are going to the lake of fire. And the other abomination, which is not forgivable, if you kill someone for any reason, and it was not in self-defense, that someone came at you with a harmful object like a knife, a gun, a stick, or something that will cause deadly harm, and you kill someone in a fight, even if the person made you angry and you struck him in such a place that you knew he would die, that is murder, and you will not be forgiven for it. That is what you have to understand from the fact that sexual sins, there is no way to negate it. And those things that we mentioned to you, inbreeding, okay, rape, homosexuality, bestiality, cannot be forgiven. Once you've done it, it means that you are a child of Satan. So these are the great abominations. So the great abominations are inbreeding, homosexuality, bestiality, rape, and murder. It's 5 of them. If you do any of those, there is no way to negate it. If you kill someone, you can give the person back life. That's how it works. If you kill someone on this spot for nothing, how are you going to make the person alive? You can't restitute it. Any crimes that have to be forgiven, any breaking of commandment that has to be forgiven, there must be a restitution. So for example, you pluck out someone's eye. Under the commandment, they pluck out your eye because you can give your own eye too. And it's equal. You get forgiven. You cut off someone's arm, they cut off yours too. It's even. But once you do a sexual sin of inbreeding, homosexuality, bestiality, rape, right? You cannot be forgiven. And when you kill, you cannot give back life. That is how it works. So with that, let's introduce you to the next abomination, all right? Which can be restituted. Okay, so a total of 9. We mentioned 6. We told you there was 2 left, but it's actually 6 and it's 3 left. So the first of the third, because altogether are 9 abominations, all right? And out of that 9, only 4 can be restituted. The one that can be restituted first is the fact that if you impose yourself as a high priest, you can restitute that and you can get forgiven. Okay? The next one that we want to mention to you is you shall not bear false witness against anybody. What does false witness mean? Because people do not understand this difference. The Bible, as the Romans put it, said, you shall not lie. Okay? But that is not what it said. It said, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. They changed that and said, you shall not lie. Lying and bearing false witness are 2 different things. You can lie. There is no penalty for lying, and I'll explain that to you so you understand. So let me explain what a lie does. A lie only affects you. So for example, someone comes to me right now and says, dear Tricks of the S Trade, okay, I don't have money to buy your book. Can you give me a free copy of your book? And I tell you, I don't have any books to give. But right in our warehouse, maybe we have 1,000,000 copies of it. And I tell you, we don't have any books to give you. The lie that I'm saying is only affecting me. It is my property. I have a right over my property to do whatever I want to do with it because it is mine. It is not yours. So it's the same example like maybe someone comes to your house, right? And tells you that, can I please borrow, you have 2 headphones. Can you please give me one? And I tell you, oh, my headphone's broken. Meanwhile, there's nothing wrong with the headphone. The lie is only affecting me. It is my property. It is not in your hands. So that is the meaning of a lie. Lying, there is nothing wrong with lying. As long as the only person is affecting is you, because it's your property, you can lie about your property. You don't need to give anybody anything. And maybe you don't want to hurt the person's feelings, so you lie about it. That's normal. There's no penalty for that in the Creator's eyes. The penalty that happens comes when you bear false witness. What does false witness mean? False witness involves three people. Lying only involves two. It doesn't go beyond two people. And the person that's lying is only protecting his property. So that's what a lie does. When false witness is in effect, the lie is affecting someone else and stealing their own property from them. What does that mean? Let me give you a typical example, because we are very much in this world right now and we see it all around you. White supremacy is bearing false witness. It will not be forgiven until the people who are bearing the false witness pay restitution to the black people that they've lied upon. And we'll get into that later. But for now, just know that. So, white supremacy makes us believe that creation is white, is albino. Anybody with straight hair. This is what white supremacy bearing false witness tells us. It makes us believe that everybody in history is an albino, anybody with straight hair, and not black. It makes us believe that black people are lower than human beings and should be treated as animals. This is bearing false witness because you have stolen what legally belongs, the history of somebody else, to your own benefit as an albino practicing white supremacy. And we'll get into that later on. So that is an example of bearing false witness. You lie to steal someone else's identity, to steal someone else's legacy, to steal someone else's property. And the collaboration is between two or more people against one person. In bearing false witness, there must always be three people. One is going to be the victim, and the other two are going to be the victors who bear false witness, who lie to steal the property of the victim. Another example of bearing false witness today is the Hebrew Israelites. The Hebrew Israelites say that they are the people of the scripture. They are bearing false witness. They have taken upon themselves an identity, stolen someone's property, identity, for their own benefit. Because now, someone who believes that is going to give the Hebrew Israelites something over the fact that he says or he believes that they are the children of Scripture, the people of Scripture, the people of the Creator. That is bearing false witness. So false witness involves three people. One is a victim, of which the lies that they are telling steals his property and steals his identity. This is an abomination that if you do not pay restitution for bearing false witness, lying against someone and having benefit over it, you are going to the lake of fire. And this is what Exodus chapter number 23 from verse 1 to 3 says. And let me read it. It says, "You shall not receive a vain report. You shall not agree with the unjust to become an unjust witness. You shall not bear false witness. You shall not associate with the multitude for evil. You shall not join yourself with the multitude to turn aside with the majority so as to shut out judgment. And you shall not spare a poor man in judgment." This is what white supremacy does today. This is what Hebrew Israelites do today. And for everybody else out here who are conniving with the lying kings of this world to bear false witness to oppress society, this is what the Creator said, that all liars shall be in the lake of fire. But all liars there did not say all liars. The Romans wrote that. The correct translation is all who bear false witness shall be in the lake of fire. Because we are living in an organized lying system in which The identity of black people have been stolen and given to albinos, and they are the ones benefiting from it because they've given them all the jobs and all the glory, and while black people in society suffer, those who do so are going to the lake of fire. We'll explain more as we get along. So that is the first of the 3 abominations that we have left, and altogether we have 9 of them. If anybody does any of that, they're going to the lake of fire. Let's continue on. Now, this next abomination, society in recent times are doing it so much. But before we get into this next abomination, we need to explain some few things. We're not going to give a full explanation. The full explanation is going to be on the shape of our world. The explanation is this. When the Creator met man, Adam, and made Eve, right? There was a very clear distinction on how to distinguish the female from the male. Now, a lot of people today are going to say, oh, but we think that the distinction between male and female happens to be breast and genitalia. That is a distinguishing factor when you see a woman, all right, that has not fully covered up herself for you to see the female form. All right? Now you have to understand that this distinguishing factor of distinguishing a man from a woman in terms of the sexual organs and the breast and the genitalia came after we became mortal. It came after we became mortal. When the Creator met Adam and made Eve, they were not naked. Did you hear that? When the Creator met Adam and Eve, they were not naked. The Romans took out from the scriptures what Adam and Eve looked like when they were immortal. So that is why if you read in the book of Genesis, after Adam and Eve had eaten of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of evil, when the Creator came to the garden, Adam said, I hid because I heard the sound of your voice and I was naked. And the Creator asked him, who told you you were naked? Because they were not naked. So the identifying figure between a man and a woman in the genitalia, breast, and sexual organs comes after man became mortal. There was a distinguishing factor between male and female when they were immortal. So after mortality, there was no way to distinguish between a baby that's born that's male and a baby that's born that's female just by looking, if you didn't look at the sexual organs. Because remember this, when children are born, when they are babies, you don't see the female breasts on a baby child. It just looks like a normal male chest, right? So it's only when you look at the organs that you can distinguish that. But in ancient times, when children were born, they were covered up. So if you come into a room and see babies, males and females laying down all covered up, like you would go to like maybe the what's it called in hospitals, the nursery section. Let's see if we can pull up a picture. So here's a picture that we could pull up. So if you go to, is it the, what they call it, nursery? What do they call it? They call it the maternity nursery. That's what you, okay, all right. So they call it a maternity nursery. So if you go into a hospital like this, or maternity nursery, let's put it right, and you look at these babies all wrapped up, there is no way to distinguish which one is male or female just by looking, because they're all covered up. All right? So, but at the time of creation, when the Creator met Adam and Eve and they were immortal, there was a clear distinguishing feature between male and female, even when they were all covered up and you couldn't see the genitalia. All right? So, when man became mortal, when Adam and Eve lost their mortality, all right, that distinguishing feature between a man and a woman, even when they're covered up like this, that you could not tell, was lost. So all females today lost the distinguishing ability to be identified as female when they were born as babies, like this, as you can see. All right? So, when this happened, the remnants of which the lineage of Seth, after Abel had died, developed a means to distinguish a woman from a man. After Adam and Eve became mortal, and women naturally, as babies, lost the ability to be identified as a female when they were born, just like you're looking at the picture when they were all covered up. Seth, Adam and Eve, by the Creator, developed a way to identify female babies. So what usually happened was, when a baby girl was born, they would pierce the ears of the baby. Now, ear piercing is signifying entry. That means that this is a woman who is supposed to be penetrated for childbirth. So that is what the earring that a woman wears indicates. So when female babies were born, according to the remnants, they would pierce the ears and put on earrings on her. So when you came in like this into, like, maybe you walked into this nursery right now, or maternity nursery, when you looked, you would notice that, okay, this is a female baby, all right? And this is a male baby. Why did they have to distinguish that? Because the high priest needed to know, right, the firstborn child that was born that was male, okay, or female. Because what you had to give to the high priest for the male child was different from the female child if they were firstborn. Do you understand that now? So the very idea of piercing your ears and wearing earrings is only for females. So when a man pierces his ears and wears earrings, it's an abomination. Did you listen to what I said? Males wearing earrings is an abomination, because what you're signifying yourself to be is that you're a woman. So if you notice, once a man wears earrings, he looks effeminate. He looks like a pretty girl instead of being a masculine man, because the wearing of earring is to indicate that you are a woman. But through hip-hop and Satanism, they have made you to believe that wearing earrings is for males when it's only for females. So if you understand that now, then we can go on to the next abomination, which we should present to you of the two remaining ones, which are redeemable. So if you're a male and you're wearing earrings, you are going to the lake of fire. If you're a male and you're wearing any form of pierced jewelry, you pierce your ears, pierce your nipples, pierce your nose, pierce your lips, and wear jewelry, you are going to the lake of fire. Let's continue now to show you the abomination proper. So we're reading from Leviticus chapter number 19 on one of the abominations that can be redeemed. So if you're a man and you wear earrings, all you have to do is take it off and don't wear it anymore. If you wear any form of body piercing, any piercing at all, besides your ears, as a woman, you are going to the lake of fire. Why? Because what I'm about to read to you explains that. It says here, and you shall not make any cuttings in your body for a body. Because let me make you understand this. If you harm yourself, if you pierce your nose as a female, pierce your belly button, pierce your lips, pierce your nipples, pierce your genitalia, anywhere that you pierce it, what you are doing is making a cutting for a demon, because this was ancient practice of the children of Cain that passed on to humanity through the flood. So if you pierce your body, other than a female piercing her ears, if you like, you can put 2-3 piercings on your ears, it doesn't matter. But as long as it is your ears only, you are good as a female. But if you wear any form of jewelry besides that, it means that you are making a cutting, signifying yourself to be possession of a demon. Now let's continue reading this because we need to make some other explanations. It says here, and you shall not make any cuttings in your bodies for a body, and you shall not inscribe on yourself any marks. So 2 different things. One is cutting and one is inscribing marks. What do you think it means by inscribing marks? Wearing a tattoo. So if you wear tattoos, you are going to the lake of fire. So if you say you believe in the Creator, you have to get rid of all tattoos. Now someone's gonna say, really? Yes, you have to get rid of all tattoos or you are going to the lake of fire. Why? Because tattoos were inscription and marks for the worship of the Trinity, which we'll explain in the shape of our world. Now, let me make you understand what tattoos actually mean. If someone takes a knife and cuts you, right, and tries to stab you, you will feel pain. You will go to the police and make a report that someone tried to kill you. Okay? That is what you'll do. If you do a tattoo, if you make a tattoo on a piercing on yourself, what you are doing is the same thing as someone, all right, were trying to kill you. So the same judgment passed on someone who took a knife and tried to cut you up would be the same judgment that's given to you for cutting up your own self. This is what people do not understand, because people who are possessed of demons hurt themselves. So what you're signifying by putting a piercing, wearing a piercing on your body in any way, shape or form, besides a woman wearing earrings on her ears and having tattoos, means that you're possessed of demons. You are hurting yourself, because that's what you're physically doing. It's not a form of beauty. So this is what Christianity has made people not to see, that this is an abomination. So does that mean that females shouldn't wear jewelry? Oh yes, a woman can wear all the jewelry that she wants, but as long as it's not pierced jewelry. You don't pierce your nose and wear earrings in it, or you don't wear any jewelry on your nose, you don't pierce your tongue, you don't pierce your belly button, you don't pierce your nipples, you don't pierce anywhere in your body besides your ears, and you do not wear any tattoos. That is an abomination. Anybody that does that is going to the lake of fire. But the good news is that you can redeem and pay restitution by removing your tattoos. If you had already pierced yourself as a female, nipples, nose, mouth, tongue, anywhere else, genitalia, you can take it off. When you take it off, naturally, the wound will heal and it will get closed. Same for a man. If you pierced your ears or anywhere, take those earrings off. Take the piercings off, it will heal. If you had tattoos, go remove it. And to show you how wicked the system is, it's very, very expensive to remove tattoos. Why do you think that is? Why is it expensive to take something out that you put in? Because Satan wants you to condemn yourself to the lake of fire. So he makes it difficult for you to remove a tattoo. He wants you to be bound to him. That's why his name is James Bond. In bondage, to bind and bond you to him, to the lake of fire, his children. So this is an abomination that people need to get rid of. And let's continue on to the next one. So the next person that we have for an agenda check is known as Fred Rogers. Fred Rogers happened to be, as we can read from this particular website, which talks about him. Let's call it a him for now, but it's actually she. It says Fred Mackley Rogers, also known as Mr. Rogers, was an American television host, author, producer, and Presbyterian minister. So he was what? A pastor. These are some of the things that we're talking about, that when people impose themselves as a high priest, it's an abomination. But on top of that, Mr. Rogers, or Fred Rogers here, is actually female. He says he was the creator, showrunner, and host of the preschool television series Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which ran from 1968 to 2001. And in all of the history of television that you've watched, no one has even made reference that Mr. Rogers is actually a woman. Let's continue on. So here is a picture of Mr. Rogers, who's actually a female. One of the things that you have to notice about when women sit, because always remember this, a female has a longer torso than a man. So when a woman is sitting, because she has a longer torso, longer pelvis, the length of travel as she sits inside that chair is so long. And normally a woman with a man of the same height will always sit taller in a chair than a man because of the longer torso and longer pelvis. And with albino females, all right, the scum of the earth females, as you're gonna find out later on as we get into the legends of roll call, because they are all the scum of the earth except they know the name of the creator and keep his commandments, specifically albino females. There's a reason why we keep using these words and showing you all that we are showing you, because you are going to sit with your jaw dropped by the time you get to end of Legends of Roll Call, because we have to know who is who and distinguish and divide the people to know who is going to the lake of fire and those who are going after the commandments, to know the truth about this world. So you can separate yourself, because a separation is still coming in the future, a division, which will be caused by Satan. But those who have their eyes open, who know the truth, will know the divide and the separation when it happens. And for those who do not, they will continue on. All right? So, especially with albino females, the scum of the earth females, who do not have any knowledge, no wisdom, all right? Who have told humanity and lied to humanity for so long because they carry the nature of demons. Remember what we showed you and told you. Every time natural order is broken, what you have is the presence of Satan and demons in that person's life. They wouldn't know it because society, through media, through popular culture, right, has forced people to coexist, and through Christianity, which has preached love and tolerance for evil, people are not able to distinguish what is evil and what is not anymore. It's become all merged. But that time period has ended. We are in the time period in which you will clearly identify who is evil and who is not. Because this is the only way that when the Creator comes back, the separation happens, which is talked about in Matthew chapter number 24. So let's continue on with Mr. Fred Rogers to show you that with albino females, the scum of the earth females, the worst of the worst, when they sit in a chair, because they have extra longer torsos than woolly-haired females, black females, it's always going to show. So this is the reason why you can look at Mr. Fred Rogers here. Let's blow this picture up so you understand what we are looking at, all right? Even though it's a blurry picture. The length of travel, because this is his hips right here. So all this is pelvis all the way up here. So that's why Mr. Rogers sits so long in the chair. If, for example, an albino male sat in this chair, the length of travel, the torso would not be so long. But because the worst of the worst, the scum of the earth in albino females, when they sit, their torso runs so long. And people think it's pretty. Especially for those black people who love going after albino women. And let me just tell you a story right here. I have a friend who happens to be of the remnant, born and bred the remnant, but he doesn't know it because we haven't gotten into this discussion. Why haven't we been able to get into this discussion? Because he has no knowledge of the Creator and does not seek him. All what he thinks about is white supremacy, okay? Now, this fellow thought that of all women in the world that he should marry someone who is from India. Okay? We'll get into India later, but for now, just stick around and listen to the story. And that he thinks that there is no woman of his ethnicity that he can trust. Because he has money, he's not sure if he can trust a woman, if a woman will like him because of his money, instead of liking him for his person. But he found an albino woman. You see how twisted black folk are? Because let me tell you straight off from the bat right here, and we'll talk about it later. As a black person, let me just explain this so you can understand that actions speaks louder than words. This is true. As a black person, if you go and make a conscious decision, why do I say conscious decision? Because men get carried away by females regardless. So in the heat of the moment, you could have maybe procreate with an albino female and you have children. But as a black man, when you make a conscious decision and say that the person that you want to marry is the scum of the earth albino women, okay? It means that you as a black person do not like yourself. It means you hate yourself because the children born of a black person and the scum of the earth albino woman who does not seek the commandments of the Creator, who does not know about him, who's not interested in the truth, and all they think about and believe is in albino supremacy or white supremacy. When you do that, it shows that that black man does not like himself. He hates himself because the children born of that scum of the earth albino woman who does not seek the Creator and seek to know the truth, those children are not going to be wholly black. They are going to carry albinism as a recessive trait in their bodies. And the Creator specifically told the remnant, do not marry or procreate with any albino. And we are going to show you that. So that fellow, that friend of mine who did so. Because this is what happens. If you follow after the commandments of the Creator, if you say that you believe in the Creator and you follow after his commandments and you keep his commandments, he will guide you. Even the false commandments that is given to us through Christianity in the book of Exodus, in chapter number 20 or thereabout. If you follow after those commandments, the Creator will guide you in all that you do, such that you will not make the worst mistakes of your life. So if this remnant fellow of mine, a friend of mine, thought in his mind that there was nobody that he could trust of his own ethnicity because he's not sure if that woman is going to love him for him or love him for his money, but yet he found an albino, a scum of the earth albino woman to procreate with and have children with. What does that say? He hates himself. He hates the commandments of the Creator and is possessed of demons. This is what is specific about so many black people today. So why is that an indication that when a black person, all right, chooses to marry and procreate with a scum of the earth albino woman and have children by that scum of the earth albino woman, it shows that the black man hates himself. He hates his blackness and hates everything that has to do with the Creator. Why? Because he does not want his children to look exactly like him. That is what it says. That's exactly the meaning of that action. So when you see a lot of black men, because the reason why white supremacy has succeeded for so long is because black people think that marrying someone who's an albino, the scum of the earth woman, makes them to be better off. That is a satanic mindset deeply infested into black males. And as we get along in this video, you're going to find out how deceived they are, because actions speaks louder than words. So for me, for example, I'm going to just give myself as an example. For a long time, I used to think I do not drink. If someone asked me, do you drink? I would say, no, I don't drink. Okay. But I have a bottle of alcohol and maybe it would take 2-3 months, all right, to get done. And so if I have people over and they would ask me, but you say you don't drink, how come you have all these bottles of alcohol right here that are empty? Do you know what happened later on? I decided to look at the facts. Even though I have never been drunk all my life, never been drunk, never had a hangover. And the reason why I drink alcohol from time to time is to help me sleep. I had to make a very clear statement and say, even though I never drink outside, so I never drink outside of my house, outside of home, okay? And if I go out anywhere and they offer me an alcoholic drink, I'll tell you, no, give me something that's soda or juice, right? I was lying to myself by saying I don't drink because of that action. Because at home, I have bottles of alcohol. So this is what happens with people. The action tells you the truth. It's not what you say that says the truth. Your action. We are judged by our action, not by words. That is why a politician can get up on stage and say all the bullshit that you want to hear, because they know that people are not judged by words, by what they do. Your action tells you who you are. On this particular picture, it's not so clear because it's blurry, because everything the scum of the earth albino people hide and will try to lie to us about white supremacy, that it is the greatest, that they are the ones in charge of all things and discovered all things. People whom black people trained and gave them enlightenment, and they called them royalty from where they came from in Asia. And today they are busy looking down on black people. We're going to show you all that later, but for now, let's stick to Mr. Rogers. You can see from this picture that as Mr. Rogers sits down, the hips are spreading wide. Follow my mouse. Those are hips. See, this is the waist. That's the female waist that Mr. Rogers has his hands on. As he spreads wider down here, these are the hips. Because Mr. Rogers is 100% female. When a woman sits in a chair, her hips spread out because she's female. And this is how women sit, because Mr. Rogers is 100% female. It's the same thing that we see here with Mr. Rogers. See, arm goes around the female waist. That is the female waist right there. Once a woman puts her arms around herself like Mr. Rogers is doing right here, at that point where your elbows or arms go around your body, that is where your waist is. It's directly above your navel and slightly below your chests. That is what Mr. Rogers is exhibiting. And from that elbow, you can see that she starts spreading wider because this is a woman. No man is going to look like this in an hourglass figure. Look at that. From the elbows, see? So from the elbows right underneath the elbows, that is all female pelvis, all the way down to the hips. And you can see the hourglass frame that Mr. Rogers exhibits because Mr. Rogers is 100% female. Let's continue on. And here's Mr. Rogers, clear as night and day. Look at that. Look at that. This is the waist, the female waist right above the navel, as you can see right here where these clothes just start to crease up. And from that point, he spreads wider all the way down. And look at the acute Q angle here, because Mr. Rogers is 100% female.